meet everyone. Welcome back to Midnight Fantasy Creation. Today I have a custom order. Someone wants me to do Hello Kitty themed jewelry box. And I've been sitting on this mold for a little while. It's perfect time to use it because she wants something girly and we are going to do it in a nice white and pink. And I thought it would be the perfect time to test out the watercolor paint on the resin cretes. Now I have some watercolor metallic like paint. So we have some pearly, we have a nice pearly pink right here. We got some pearly colors. I was hoping for more of a pearly white, but if I don't have a pearly white, I do have pearl white paint. So we are going to use the Magic Pour by Let's Resin. And I need to go get my scale. So we got the scale. I'm just going to get some water. All right. Now I have absolutely no clue how much resin powder this is going to take. And I do want to be able to set this aside so I can let it dry. And if I can't get some of this on camera, I am so sorry. I'm going to do my best. So we are going to start with... Normally do double the amount when I do my powders and stuff. So you can measure this by weight. And it is 3 to 1. I think it's 3 ounces. So if you were to do 3 ounces of powder, it'd be 1 ounce of water. I'm going to do 6. Because I know 3 is not going to be enough for this. So we are going to put the powder in here. That's 6. And if I go a little over, it's going to be no big deal, to be honest. Then I'm going to do 2 ounces of water. Again, if you go a little over, it's no big deal. If you go a lot over with the water, you'll make it super runny, and it will take longer for it to cure properly. It also will shrink, and I'm pretty sure this is not enough. This is going to probably take way more than I had anticipated, which is a good thing that I grabbed extra water. All right, so this does not have a lot of working time, but you can add more water in if it starts to get thick on you. You do, however, want to make sure you get all that powder mixed. And if it's too thick, you can add just a splash. And I do mean just a splash of water because a little bit goes a long way. I think that is good. I am going to start off with probably bow. I am going to let that sit for 2 seconds. All right, so we're going to start with the bow. And that is thick, so I may have to actually add some water in there. Just a splash. I said you don't need a lot. And I stained my cup with all the pigments I've been using in the previous projects, so don't mind that mess. Now this is fairly friendly, user friendly, and it has a lot of forgiveness if you, like I said, make a mistake. If you completely botch one of these, there's too many holes, it's not coming out right, don't throw it out. Don't waste your stuff. This isn't expensive, but it's not cheap either. You can break it down into either small pieces or back into powder, and you can reuse it. I also know April from Dragons and Dresses Craft Sortium did mention you can use these as almost like an incense diffuser. So you can put essential oils in them and it will release fragrance. I'm actually quite curious to see how well that works because I would love to make some scented diffusers that are more, or freshies. People are into the fresh sketchies with the beads and everything, I wouldn't mind doing something different. And using the resin would be a really good alternative, I think. And I probably would have some fun with it. Now, I am scooping just a little bit of this out at a time. I'm trying not to make too much of a mess, which I'm already doing, but I am trying to do this at a reasonable pace. Like I said, this will get hard on you quite quickly. In fact, this is already getting hard, and it settles down. So the water will come up and it'll settle on the bottom. So the bottom is going to feel harder and stiffer before the top will. And that's why you need to constantly stir this too, because it'll just settle on the bottom and then it'll get thick and you won't be able to work with it as well as you'd like. I'm doing the rest of this in this lid because there's not a lot. Move this out of the side. I'm going to grab my scale and we are going to do another 6 ounces. I've been watching people do these on YouTube, and some that aren't used to it have a problem with the measurements. I have yet to have an issue. I shouldn't say yet to have an issue. I've had a few times where I measured it perfectly and it still was thick and you had to add a splash of water. It happens. But I have never had such an issue with it where the measurements were so far off, I stopped bother using the scale. I still, as you can see, after I forget how many videos I've done so far, I'm still using the same measuring method. I'm using the same scale, actually. I'm not doing anything fancy with the water. I know there is one powder, I forget exactly what it's called. It's the same company that does the Perfect Cast, but they have 3 different versions of it, and they have a really big, cheap bag. I wouldn't mind testing that out, but I was reading the reviews from Hobby Lobby and people complain about it's chunky, it doesn't work right. Others say the ones that are complaining that it's not working out right aren't using the right water. You're supposed to use distilled water to remove the chunks. I have not had to do that with this. I'm using regular tap water and I have a well. You want to talk about hard water? I've probably got some of the hardest water. I do have a filter in our well and a water softener or whatever you want to call it. So obviously it could be worse, but as you can see, I'm not getting huge chunks. So I'm not doing anything fancy with this. This is just regular well water, like I was saying, and powder and mixing. And that's it. Just making sure there's no clumps or bumps and that it's nice and smooth. Let's bring that lid back over here because it's already pretty hard. See, that's hard. It's already solid. It's only been like 5 minutes. We're going to finish pouring this in. I'm probably going to have to make another 6. Oh, if you pour this over something that's already hardened, it actually hardens way faster. So keep that in mind when you are pouring. Say you didn't make enough. You may want to make it just a little bit runnier than usual, just because it does tend to harden on you a lot faster than it would if you just poured it in a dry, empty one. You can maneuver this a little bit because it does loosen the bottom stuff up, but you can already see how that's hard, and it's making the top stuff harder. I don't know, it's some kind of like chain reaction. It's actually kind of cool. I'm just trying to get it underneath the lip. Hopefully get no air pockets. You can see through this mold, and I don't see any actual air pockets, so hopefully I don't have any. But if we do, I actually can kind of fix them depending on how they are. You might need to sand them a little bit. I can show you how to fix those depending on how bad those bubbles are, because if they're really bad, it's harder to fix. But if they're not that bad, it's not too hard to fix. I do need a level table, and this table is not level. A little bit more. And then I'm going to move this out of the way and stick it somewhere, hopefully a lot more level than this. For now, and this does get warm. I don't know if I've mentioned that in previous videos. So once it cools off, it is ready to take out of the mold, but I do like leaving it in a little longer because if you take it out too soon and there's a lot of detail in it, you may break it. If it's thin and it's super detailed, I don't want to say super detailed, it's hard to explain. If there's tiny little intricate pieces, petals of a flower, you can break them. So I do like leaving them in their molds a little longer than a half hour. They say you can demold this in I think 20 to 30 minutes. At least I think this one does anyways. Some of them say more, some of them say minimum. I want to say most of them, if they have a quick time is 20 minutes, but usually it's about 30. And then I did a comparison video and one was like they said almost 50 minutes before you should be taking it out of the molds. It really was that long because it took forever for it to harden. All right, I am definitely going to need to make more because that lid by itself with the bow took almost the full 12 ounces of powder. I'm going to smush this around and make sure there's no bubbles in here. Give this a couple of good bangs and then grab the scale and get some more. I'm going to finish doing this. I'll speed up the video. You don't need to see me do this 20 times until we get it fully poured, and then we're going to let it cure, and then I will be back when it's time to take it out of the molds. Let this dry and we're gonna hopefully be able to chip it off. I'm gonna dump this extra in a small mold. It's like an ornament. It's a Harry Potter one. And then I may also, if the watercolor works really well with that box, I may try painting one of the Harry Potter ornaments and seeing if I can turn that into one of those card diffusers like I had mentioned. I think that'd be a fun little experiment to do on top of an experiment. All right, I will be back when that is cured and I cleaned up this mess. So we are back and these are cured and cooled off. I want to say probably been sitting for about an hour. And I want these to finish curing overnight out of the mold. Because if you guys remember in previous videos, if you let it sit in the molds too long, the air or the water does not seep out well enough. But I also want to be sure I don't break these because I have broken one. Not in one of these. I've broken the egg molds when I did the candles for Easter, trying to take it out of its casing. There we go. So that is good. That was probably going to be maybe the second most difficult. And that is looking very nice. A nice little pillow. I'm debating, there's some minute bubbles. I am debating whether or not to leave the box mostly white or mostly pink. I'm thinking mostly white and just painting the rim pink and the bow pink. I definitely want this to finish drying. Oh, there's a bubble. Before I put any kind of liquid or water on it, because it's still pushing everything out, although I may want to fix that. I also want to make sure this actually sits on it the way it's supposed to, because I've had boxes, their tops not fit on their bottoms. Got a little cleanup to do because of my little spill. All right, I'm gonna let that finish airing out. Let's see if we can get this bow. And there is the bow, all nice and pretty. Just a couple of air pockets down here, not too bad at all. As anybody has ever played with the powder resin before, it is almost impossible to get every single air bubble out because of your working time. So once you get a little maneuver down and figure out exactly how to quickly get the trapped air out before it cures, you are going to have a world difference of your finishes. So, like I said, there was just a couple of air pockets in the pillow right here and right here. I can easily fill those in. You have to be very ginger with it because you can mess the finish up. And there's a couple of, I think this is from when so there's a little marking right here about, yeah, this is about same level. I'm guessing that was from the first pour to the second pour. That can happen. You do need to be careful if you run out and you have to make more and it sits too long. Because like I said, the second it starts to touch the hardened stuff, the not hardened stuff with the hardened stuff, it instantly does start to harden. In fact, you can see a little bit of it up in here as well. So we had pretty much the center poured and then I had to make more, and that didn't fill all the crevices and whatnot and didn't get a chance to get where it needed before it rehardened itself. So that is the only thing you need to be careful about when you don't originally pour enough in your molds. So let this finish curing, but pretty much this is what the box is going to look like once you glue it and put it together. So I do need to fill that air hole, and I can do that on camera. I'm basically going to do this with my fingers. I just want to get, where did I put? So this is probably going to be a little bit too big, but just want to add a little powder and a little bit of water. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this in a tiny cup because I don't need it that big. We're going to do it in one of these little silicone cups. And we're just going to use that much. And just like a dab of water. No, maybe a little more than just a dab. Because remember, it is 3 parts powder to 1 part water. I don't know if you can see that. I just want it wet enough to be pasty. You're going to have an easier time filling the holes with the paste than you are with the liquid, and that was a little bit too much. No. Definitely do not let it drip on anything. And if it does, wipe it off quickly because it is going to harden faster if you don't. Move that out of the way. I want to fix this. I have a toothpick. Hold on. Now you can tape up the edge if you want to give this a nice clean edge, or fill it in, let it harden for a little bit, and gently, remember this is plastic, just scrape off the edge, and now you have a nice clean edge with very little notice that there was a bubble. Same thing with here, just nice and flush, and just slice it, and voila, you have filled in your bubble. And that was a good size one too. The little ones I'm not too worried about. You can smooth out any mess you may have made while you were doing that filling. See, I don't even remember. I don't even remember where the bubble was. And then we had some itty bitty ones on here. Take that, we're just going to smush it around, and then we're going to take our fingers and we're going to push and swipe. And that just filled in that bubble. I'm going to do my best to get this to zoom in as possible. And whatever was on my finger, just rub. And there we go. Bubble gone. There's another one right here. Come on. There we And that was filled in. All right. And now we're going to let this cure overnight. I don't think there was any, yeah. And then we will try the watercolor and see if that works. Right, we are back, and I have a nice rotating, I don't know what these are called. They're supposed to be for like cake making and stuff, but I bought it for this. You can get them at, well, I believe you can get them at Walmart. Any craft store like Michael's and Hobby Lobby, essentially anyone that has like cake decorating section, and of course Amazon. I have some watercolor paint, and I got these at Hobby Lobby. It comes with 2 different trays and 24 colors. I am going to be using pretty much these 2 colors because she wants them in white and pink. I may change it up a little bit. And then I have a bunch of brushes to work with. So when you do watercolor, you are supposed to wet the colors you're going to be using ahead of time and let them soak a little bit to make it a little easier to work with and then to loosen them up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just throw a little water in there and let them soak in for a bit. I'm essentially going to fast forward through this while you guys are watching, and I'm just going to paint all of this, and then we can glue the top on, the bow on to the top, and once I'm done, and then that should be it. Now I did test a little bit of this out on this ornament. Here's the Harry Potter ornament. It does work quite nicely, and this is supposed to be metallic watercolor, by the way. Now I am going over this with a second coat just because this is sucking up the water a little bit faster than the pigment. And I do want to give it time to dry and hopefully get rid of some of these streaks. Hoping this watercolor was going to work, but it looks like it's coming off. I think I'm going to let this sit and dry. So it looks like the watercolor isn't working the way I was hoping, and we are going to do this with acrylic paint. I really did want to have that nice color shift to make this as girly as possible. I am just going through all of this just to make sure it's nice and saturated. I do need to do another coat of the white, but that is going to have to wait. That's looking pretty good. And I am going to have to test out the watercolor without the metallic in it on that ornament I have. It's a real bummer that that acrylic paint, watercolor paint is not working. But as you can see, the mica powder that is in that watercolor paint is just wiping right off, getting all over the hands. I'm doing the darker pink inside here, just to preserve some of the pink that I have, so I'm not using all of this pretty pink. I may do this pink on the bottom. The inside I may do with this. This one is Pink Flash, by the way, and this one is Orchid Flash. It's funny because I would have probably switched the two names and had that Pink Flash, but they have the reason for their names. If you get the pink in the wrong spot, you can remove it as long as you get to it fast enough. I did do 2 coats of white on this, and this is looking really good. I'm debating on what color to do the bottom. As for the bow, I think the bow looks fantastic with the 2 color shifts. So I do want to add a darker pink to the inside of the bow folds to give it a little bit more of a dimension and make it kind of look more like a satin ribbon. I don't think this needs, well, it might need another coat of the pink in some spots. Let's try. Right, so just need to touch up a little bit where the paint got to and I didn't want it to go. And then we are gonna let the rest of that dry and do some second coats. Any of these white spots, I can just go back over with the pearl. Pearl is just gonna make it look a lot pearly again. All right, so I gotta let that dry before I can put another coat on it. And of course, wipe down anything you didn't want the paint to go so you're not continuously going over things 100 times. Let's see. This is looking good. I don't think I need any second coats on this. Although, I'm not positive if I should or not. I might do it just to see. Can I help you, Demon? Steams, I'm not painting a portrait of you. Not yet, anyways. Hey, you're blocking my light and my camera. Mine. No, you can't paint a painting. Come on. Out of the way. Get your nose out of there. Nosy. See if that makes a difference. Don't think it's making much of a difference. Although that could use a little. Depending on the angle you're looking at, I can still see things I don't want to see. So I think it's not making much of a difference. So I am just going to leave it as is. And I might just do the inside of this just a little bit. Are you back for more? Come on. In the way. It's a camera. I'm saying hi to everybody? No, get your nose out of there. Seriously, demon? Come on, you're blocking my light. Line the base of your jewelry boxes with either felt or velvet. I don't have any velvet or felt to stick in it, so shh, that's dry. Beautiful. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm obviously going to clean up where I need to. Let's say finish cleaning up where I need to, and then I am going to seal this with, well, I gotta clean the bottom. I think I'm gonna, I don't know if I want to do it pink or leave it white. I think I might do it pink. The insides here I want to leave white, just so I'm not using up all my pretty colors, and I'll probably just do the white on the underneath of the lid as well. Just taking some water in some of those spots where I got too much white on it and trying to get them off so I don't have to recoat this 20 times and go back and forth with paint. And if you do it before it dries, you're pretty good. And that's not looking too bad. Right, so I'm going to flip this over because the wet paint's on the inside. And I'm going to paint this real quick. This is just going to help seal it in. I am going to seal it anyways, but I'll keep it nice and smooth and give it a nice finish when you're done. And then we're going to glue the bow onto the top after I'm done sealing everything. Actually, I might glue it before I seal it. Oh, shit, I left these open. All right. So we are going to let these sit for 24 hours before sealing them in. So I'm going to let these finish drying. And I'll be back to seal them. And they're done. What are you doing, demon? Look at these beautiful blue eyes. Right, we are back. I sealed this. Oh, I forgot the sealer. I will go grab that and show you. So I have this sealed with a nice satin finish. I am probably going to actually go over one of these rims with UV resin, just a thin UV resin, because this has been sticking to itself if you let it sit too long. And I don't like that, and I want to see if the UV resin is going to correct that issue. So I'm going to show that on video, and then we are going to glue the bow on, and then this is going to be all done. So I'll be right back. So I used this Army Painter satin varnish to seal it, and I got this at a place called Game Night. It is a place where role-playing gamers like D&D or card-playing gamers like Pokemon, Magic, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball will go to either buy collectibles or even play games, because they do have a area where you can, in tables set up, where you can play the actual role-playing games. Now I am just going to use my BS resin just to go around the edge to give it a bit of a barrier that I'm hoping it won't stick to the paint, and I will try to keep you updated on whether or not that works. So I may actually wait a day or two before really editing this video to see if it makes a difference. And that's smoothing itself out. Resin for the most part is self-leveling. Even if it doesn't say self-leveling on it, you just got to make sure it doesn't run over the edges. But I am going to push it to the edge because I need it to the edge. And I kind of feel like I put a little bit too much on this, hoping it does not interfere with the box itself. There we go. All right. Do I have any more spots like that? I should have grabbed that little turning table I had, but right, that is looking good. I should get my bigger one, but I don't want to go grab it. I'm just gonna grab that turntable. Pick this up without breaking it or touching any of the ends. Stick that here, and boom, there we go. Some more in the middle. All right, that's cured nice and solid. Make sure this still goes on. Does bring the lip up a little bit higher. That is totally fine. I'm okay with that. That should give it enough of a buffer. I might leave this out in the sun just long enough to make sure this is completely cured, because, well, I still don't know if it'll actually fit under my big UV light. I can test that first. If it does, I'll stick that under there for a few minutes. But I'm going to put this on. Now, I do want to make sure it's lined up nice and centered. I think there is a right there. We are going to use our E6000. And I'm going to put a nice, generous amount on. And if you leak on your tip and it won't come off, you can use pliers to open it. Nope, that's wire cutter. These are my tiny pliers. Let's see if that'll work. Nope. Hold on, I gotta go get a set of pliers and pry this open. That's all I have are my little ones, and these little guys aren't gonna do. All right, I got my bigger pliers. Just there you go. See, that wasn't too bad. Is that oozing right away? Yes, it is. So you do want to clean up this glue afterwards, but it's already starting to ooze, so I am just gonna let it ooze while I do that. This thing will ooze over the slightest amount of pressure. But once you start peeling this off, it usually comes off a lot easier than that. Just don't let it get in your project. This glue loves to make a mess, but usually it's not too bad. Cleaning itself up. There we go. Now you don't have forever to work with this glue. This glue does actually dry pretty quickly, or at least it gets tacky pretty quickly. So there we go. A nice helping portion. Now I did seal this not very well. You can see the glue sinking in a little bit. Make sure that's nice and clean. Oops. And there we go. And of course, make sure this is on nice and tight. See if I can line this back up again. All right. It's about right here. Once you line it up, as long as you're on a flat surface, this will pretty much stay put. But if it's not on a flat surface, it will shift on you. I just want to see if I should add a little more glue, because you can see, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but you can see where the bumps are and whatnot. I might put a little more glue on that. Just a little bit. So I want to make sure it adheres to the top. Doesn't go anywhere. There we go. All right, let's try this again. Well, that feels much better. Much better. Try not to make too much of a mess with it. If you clean it up before it completely dries, you can rub it off, because yeah, there's a string right here from the glue when I picked it up. That will come off as long as you do it before it dries. It'll probably come off after, but it'll be way harder to do, and you'll probably damage your project. So don't do that. All right, that looks nice and centered from what I can see. I have the bow lined up, what looks like the center line on the pillows, and this looks like it's centered in between 3 of the pillows. Maybe not perfectly, it might need to be 2. Whoops. About here. So that's centered. This is centered. And we are going to let this sit and finish curing. Just babysit it to make sure it doesn't move, especially if you're not sure if you have this on a nice level surface, because sometimes it will wander. That is feeling good. It's staying on pretty good. It's not even fully dry yet. I'm not going to mess with it because it will come off if I do. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it does want, I do want to get it as close as possible. This is for somebody. Somebody has already bought, has ordered and paid for this. So I do want to make sure she is okay with the way it looks. But we have, that is our lovely kitty, Hello Kitty, or even Daisy Duck, because my niece is like, oh, it's a Daisy Duck box. I'm like, oh, wait, you're right. She is white and pink. So this is a nice Daisy Duck, Hello Kitty themed, color themed trinket box. So that is it for today's video. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell. I want to thank all my subscribers for your support. Of course, you guys are more than welcome to comment below. I just ask that it stays friendly. You can check out all my social media channels. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram doing my my best to keep up with it and give you guys new content on all three. You can also check out all my online shops. I have an online store at midnightfantasy.com. I am also on Etsy and eBay. They will all be linked in the descriptions if you guys are interested. And I am adding new stuff to the eBay store. I'm going to slowly link it to my online store so you can find it online as well as eBay. Same thing with Etsy. Etsy is strictly handmade. That's the only difference. So I will see you guys in the next video. Blessed be. Bye.